This is the Water Quality Association podcast.
The other part is making sure that we're understanding the public water supply and these initiatives and the regulatory requirements so that we can understand how our industry and our solutions can best serve people and how we can navigate through all of this.
WQA's CEO Pauli Undesser talking about WQA's collaboration with the municipal water treatment industry. And welcome to the podcast from the Water Quality Association, leading voice of the residential, commercial, and industrial water treatment community. I'm Wes Bleed. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and leave a comment and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a show. That's the magic of podcasting, and we'd love to have you catch our podcast on YouTube. In this episode, we'll explore key takeaways from the ACE25 convention, the annual conference and expo from the American Water Works Association. Joining me are WQA's CEO, Pauli Undesser, and WQA's Technical Affairs Director, Eric Yeggy. We'll discuss the latest on PFAS regulations, lead line replacements, and the powerful momentum behind the Water 2050 initiative. In addition, we'll discuss how WQA continues to build deeper collaboration with AWWA and why point-of-use and point-of-entry products and solutions are more relevant than ever. Plus, we'll have our WQA Tip. It's all coming up on the Water Quality Association podcast. We're going to look at highlights and takeaways from the recent AWWA ACE25 convention, one of the most influential gatherings in the water treatment world. And while WQA represents the point of use and point of entry line of equipment, technology, and service, AWWA represents the municipal side of water treatment. And joining me from WQA to talk about the convention and their relationship with AWWA, our CEO Pauli Undesser, and Eric Yeggy, WQA's Technical Affairs Director, both of whom attended this year's event. So Pauli and Eric, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate your being on the podcast. And let's begin, first of all, Pauli, with what you found from ACE25. What stood out most to you about this year's event?
Well, certainly, Wes, a lot of energy, which is always good. A lot of things going on in the water space, not only new regulations and changes going on with PFAS, the forever chemicals, but a lot of changes happening with lead line replacements and making sure that those are getting inventoried over the next couple of years, but the replacement plans being in place for public water systems. And by 2034, that the replacements are supposed to be done. However, being in Chicago for the Water Quality Association, some may have seen the news that some of those plans are delayed up to maybe even 50 years because some of the public water supplies just can't get them done in time. So those are some of the stories that we heard out of AWWA. These are challenging regulations. There are really tough things out there like PFAS and the lead line replacements, but a lot of energy around it to try to tackle them, and a lot of interest in making sure that the research and the public water supplies and everybody is trying to tackle that.
Eric, I know you presented at the convention. I want to get into that a little later on, but just overall your takeaway.
So I agree with everything Pauli highlighted there. Those are all great highlights. Just expanding on the PFAS issue a little bit, the original rule the original proposed rule from the Biden administration included 6 PFAS. So they were going to regulate 6 PFAS in drinking water, including PFOA and PFOS, which are the 2 that we know the most about. And recently, in May of this year, the Trump administration adjusted that a little bit, and they're only looking at regulating PFOA and PFOS now. They kept the MCLs at 4 parts per trillion, but they did push out the deadline for compliance from 2029 to 2031. So one of the things I was really interested in learning about at the conference was, what was the reaction to that? What were the public water supplies thinking now that this rule had been adjusted? Was that going to make it easier, less costly to comply? And basically, no. The impression I got was they all feel that it's not really going to make any significant impact on the cost to comply, or the difficulty of compliance with the rule. And so there was a lot of urgency at the conference for public water supplies to really get started now on trying to come up with a plan to comply with that rule by 2031. Even though it's been pushed out from 2029 to 2031, there's definitely a sense of urgency to get started on it now.
Pauli, somebody listening to this or watching this and wondering, well, what's WQA doing going to a municipal water treatment conference where we're point of use and point of entry? And yet I know that WQA has been involved in efforts to really increase collaboration between AWWA and WQA. So tell us about that and how it's going.
Absolutely. So I would say that there's twofold of why we're there. There's the collaboration with AWWA and their initiative Water 2050, and making sure that we're supporting and being a partner in the water segment, making sure that point of use, point of entry, as well as our commercial products are supported in that initiative. The other part is making sure that we're understanding the public water supply and these initiatives and the regulatory requirements so that we can understand how our industry and our solutions can best serve people, and how we can navigate through all of this, because we are a timely solution. And as we hear about these delays in regulation, and as we hear about the complication and everything, we know that we have products that can be delivered today and can be solutions for individuals in their homes today. And so I really look at it as a twofold way that we can be in the homes, but also be a support to public water supplies for the long term. And that's really why we're there, and making sure that we're not only being there for the people, but for the long term as well.
And we should also point out that David LaFrance, the CEO of AWWA, was a speaker at this year's WQA convention as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was part of the Water 2050 initiative. We wanted to understand how we can be better together. Over the last 8 to 10 years, David LaFrance and I have been looking, how can we move the relationship of WQA and AWWA from being adversarial to collaborative, and not just at the organizational level, but from our membership as well. And I would say that we are definitely getting there. We had some open dialogue on the stage, and certainly we haven't answered all the questions, but we had a really great conversation where we could talk openly about how our industries could be better together in addressing some of the challenges that we're facing today.
And Eric, speaking of being on stage, as we mentioned earlier, you were a presenter at the ACE 25 convention. So tell me about that. Did you have to dodge some tomatoes and whatnot as you were up there speaking, or did that go a little bit better than that?
It actually went really well. The room was packed, so there's definitely a lot of interest in what we do. My talk was on the point of use, point of entry solutions for PFAS. And so there was definitely a lot of interest in that. It gets back to what Pauli was saying, is what are some of these immediately available solutions to the problem? Unfortunately, right before my presentation, somebody pulled the fire alarm and emptied the entire conference center. But other than that, there was clearly a lot of interest. There was a large portion of that crowd that did come back for my presentation after the fire department cleared it out and let everybody come back in. So I was very happy to see that there was a good turnout for the talk. And again, there's a lot of easy solutions right now for PFAS using point of use, point of entry. It's pretty easy to get down to those MCLs that the EPA wants everyone to achieve. So that's really what my talk was about. And we're at these AWWA events in order to just help make their members aware of these solutions, help them understand how they work, what are the use limitations, just make them more comfortable with them and how they work so that they can feel more confident when they're trying to implement things like that.
Any interesting questions that you had to answer?
Not a lot of no difficult questions really. No questions that threw me off. Just a lot of questions on how does this work, how does that work, and I think again they're hungry for information on how these products work, and also the certifications. How do the certification testing? How does that work? How are they tested? And just they want to feel more comfortable with these products and understanding how they work before they implement them.
Pauli, I wanted to go back to you for something you had said earlier. You mentioned the 2050 initiative. Could you talk more about that, explain what that is, and also your involvement?
Yeah, AWWA started Water 2050 as a focus on how to reimagine water in 2050. And it really was inspired knowing that water utilities can't do the same thing they're doing today in 2050 and expect that they're going to deliver the same quality water. Water scarcity, water quality concerns, and other factors like PFAS are just a few of the things that are headwinds. And they know that they have to do something different to be able to deliver great quality water in 2050. And so AWWA had 5 different think tanks that they created to start the initiative. And one of them was technology. And I was invited as one of 25 experts to be involved. We also had Shannon Murphy as a part of one of the other think tanks for governance, to make sure that point of use, point of entry were represented as a part of the Water 2050 initiative. And point of use, point of entry also called Fit for Purpose or Design Water by the Public Water Systems came out as one of the top innovations that would help 2050 be a reality. And so it definitely continues to come out in surveys today in the public water system space, and we know that it is part of what will help Water 2050 become a reality, to be able to keep the water quality that we have, which is we have one of the best water qualities in the world, and we want to maintain that. But we can't keep doing the same thing we are today and think that we're going to be able to maintain that over time, because we are challenged. So we are going to have to think creatively and innovatively, and our industry can help us do that.
It really underscores the services and the technology available from the point of use and point of entry industry, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. We have solutions. They're timely, they're affordable, and sustainable. So absolutely, they'll help us in the future.
Broadening our conversation just a bit, Eric, speaking of presentations that you made recently, you also spoke at the National Environmental Health Association's conference. If you could tell us a little bit about that, who they are and where their focus is and what you talked about at that presentation.
So their focus is environmental health issues. They are an association that represents the inspectors who would go out and look at, say, restaurants, hotels, buildings like that. Also, sanitarians who inspect private wells, and military personnel who are involved or who are responsible for environmental health on the military base. So that's kind of their membership, and that's the audience at their annual education conference. I gave 3 presentations there. The first one was on specialty licensing, and then the second one was on common installation errors to watch for when you're inspecting facilities that have point of use or point of entry treatment installed. And then the last one was on information about using filters to protect children in schools and daycares from lead in the drinking water.
And what was the reaction?
Very good. All three talks went really well. And there was a very good reaction from the crowd. The specialty licensing talk, one of the highlights from that was there are now more states which require a specialty license for installation of water treatment than there are states which require a plumbing license for someone to work on the plumbing in your home. One of the audience members from that talk actually called out our members in California. He was from California and very familiar with our professional certification and training program, which is what the California specialty license is based upon. And he called out that working with the members in California, he was impressed by how educated they are and how knowledgeable they are in water treatment and proper installation, and just doing it in a safe, sanitary, and ethical manner. So that was good to hear. Some other highlights from the talks, in terms of the things to watch for when you're inspecting facilities that have water treatment. This is, again, an audience that's very hungry for just a better understanding of how these products work and what to look for. What are some of the common errors that are made when these things are installed, especially, if they're not installed, again, by someone who's properly trained in this field. So that was good to see that they were very hungry for that type of information. And then, of course, the lead stuff is becoming extremely important because of the changes to the lead and copper rule, which are going to drive more use of filters, and also rules like or initiatives like the Michigan Filter First initiative, which, again, a lot of these initiatives out there are just going to drive more use of filters for lead. So a lot of good information that we were able to share with that audience, and it's an important audience for us to reach with that type of information.
And staying on the topic of presentations, I understand, Pauli, you'll be doing soon a TEDx talk, which sounds fantastic. Tell us about how that came together and what you'll be talking about.
Yeah, super excited. This has been a personal and professional goal for quite a while, and it will be in Folsom, California, which is a city driven by water and energized by water that has a dam there. So excited to get to know the community as well. But certainly the presentation, I can't give away everything, but it is about the final barrier concept, and driven and inspired really about some of the challenges that we've talked about here, that public water supplies are struggling right now with kind of this double bind of they're making these choices of, can I invest in infrastructure upgrades, or do I invest in upgrading technology for PFAS? I don't have enough funds to do both. And right now we're having struggles of, are we going off a funding cliff in 2026? And if so, their decisions are going to get even harder. So if that's the case, then we need to think even more creatively about reimagining water, and maybe even sooner than Water 2050. And if so, then thinking about water treatment and doing that even more timely to make sure that we're protecting public health becomes very crucial. So that's what our industry is about. How do we get timely solutions, affordable solutions, sustainable solutions in the hands of consumers? And so that's the TEDx in a nutshell, but I won't give it all away because I want everybody to see it when it comes out.
Well, speaking of that, when do you think that might be, and how would we be able to see it, do you think?
So it is all in the hands of the international organization TED. So once TED does the production of the video, it will be available on TED.com. The timing of that is in their hands. It could be weeks or months, but certainly WQA will push it out once we know it's available. But that's all in their hands, and I don't know at this time.
Well, I can see that being a fantastic presentation because you'll be able to provide the information along with motivation, aspirational aspects of it as well to help people really get an understanding as well as a heart for clean water and quality water. All right. So to kind of wrap things up, guys, let me ask you, you've really been talking about relationships with AWWA and NEHA and these inspectors and so forth. Anything further that we need to talk about in terms of advancing these relationships? Where do you see things going? How difficult or how much time will it take, I guess, to say for these things to continue to develop in a positive way? Pauli, I'll start with you and then jump over to Eric.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is there's a sense of urgency. It's been taking longer than needed for people to get access to solutions to the water quality challenges that they're facing today. So the interconnection of industry, water professionals, and people to be able to get the solutions to those challenges really needs more urgency behind it than it has had. So certainly if members of the industry and folks hear and see more urgency from us, it's for those reasons that people need solutions faster than they have been getting them. And so I think it all needs more urgency, and we are better together by having more of those relationships and really trying to get those collaborations and those solutions to more people.
Great. Eric?
Well, we are constantly collaborating with officials at the federal level and the state level to just help them understand information about how point of use and point of entry systems work. We are here to serve as a technical resource for anybody out there who's listening who wants more information, who might be implementing a program that would rely on point of use, point of entry. We cannot recommend specific products or brands, of course, because that would be a conflict, but we can definitely help you understand how these products work, what are use limitations you need to be aware of, what do the product certifications mean, all that kind of stuff. And we also are, of course, proactively looking for more opportunities throughout the year to do presentations at various technical events.
And we should also point out that more on all of these topics at the upcoming WQA Mid-Year Leadership Conference, right, Pauli?
Absolutely. I'm excited for it. We have a great lineup of speakers and content, but also I think almost all of our committees and sections are meeting, and we'll be having some great conversations about progressing the industry forward and some great work that's going on to support our strategic plan and our strategic initiatives. So some amazing work that's going together. So if folks haven't seen the agenda and the registration already out there, it's live and ready to go. So it's not too far away, and looking forward to see everybody in Rosemont in September.
Excellent. WQA.org/MYLC for more information and to register as well. All right. Thank you so much for this presentation today. I want to thank our guests, Pauli Undesser, WQA's CEO, and Eric Yeggy, WQA's Technical Affairs Director. Great to have you both. Thank you.
Thanks, Wes.
You.
Our WQA tip: plan now for the WQA Mid-Year Leadership Conference, September 16th through the 18th, 2025, in Rosemont, Illinois, just outside Chicago. Connect with others in the water treatment industry to advance the betterment of water quality. Share best practices with colleagues, discover the latest trends, and share your insights so others can benefit. Plus, participate in fundraising events for the Water Quality Research Foundation. Head on over to wqa.org/MYLC to learn more and register. Thanks for joining us for the Water Quality Association podcast, bringing you the latest news and insights from the association, our members, and outside experts to help you better serve your customer and grow your business. Learn more about water and water filtration at our consumer website, betterwatertoday.org, and learn more about professional certification, product certification, and how you can become a WQA member at WQA.org. Until next time, this is Wes Bleed. So long from the Water Quality Association.